I don't look at these pictures, but if a person looks...
Former Stephen Harper strategist and University of Calgary political science professor Tom Flanagan found himself in hot water this week after saying he had, quote, grave doubts. Here's what Flanagan told students at Lethbridge University.
It is a real issue of personal liberty, to what extent we put people in jail for doing something in which they do not harm another person. They don't.
Flanagan has since apologized. His retirement from U of C was announced Thursday. And the Senate issued a report this week clearing the housing allowances of two senators, Dennis Patterson and Rod Zimmer. But in a scrum, Patterson refused to say where he pays his taxes.
I respect the rules and procedures of the Senate. I think I'm in full compliance with them. I'm cooperating fully. I also respect taxpayers' money.
The fate of Mike Duffy, Mac Harb, and Patrick Brazeau remains to be determined. Auditors are also examining the travel claims of Conservative Senator Pamela Wallin. And Quebec NDP MP Claude Patry crossed the floor Thursday, joining the Bloc Quebecois. Patry said his decision was sparked by a recent debate over the Clarity Act. Last February, Patry voted in favor of an NDP motion that would declare vacant any seat of a person that changed parties. Opposition leader Thomas Mulcair wants Patry to step down.
So you call upon him to have the courage of those convictions to step down from his seat in Jean Quebec and run in a by-election if he thinks these people in his riding support him.
I'm here now with Elizabeth Thompson, who's going to talk to us a little bit more about the NDP. So Elizabeth, should Thomas Mulcair be afraid or be worried at the fact that there have already been two NDP MPs who have switched over since 2011, and now after Patry, this is the first Quebecois that he's lost?
Well, he's lost two MPs now, both Quebec MPs, but neither one was expected to get elected in the first place. But the Claude Patry is a lot bigger of a problem for him than Lee Saint-Denis, who jumped to the Liberals about a year ago. Claude Patry is a problem because he was poached by the Bloc Quebecois. Now, the Bloc Quebecois has been on the hunt for a while. They know the names of all the Quebec NDP MPs who used to be supporters of the Bloc, and they would very much like to try to woo some of them over to the Bloc and try to, if possible, get official party status.
So should Mulcair be, Mulcair is doing well in the polls in Quebec, but, should this signal something for him to worry about or to try and change in his party going into another election?
Well, this is in part the result of the Bloc deliberately trying to present the NDP with a wedge issue, something they knew that would divide the more sovereignist, soft nationalist Quebec MPs from perhaps their colleagues in English Canada. So this makes it really difficult for Tom Mulcair, because, as it was for Jack Layton, because you somehow have to adopt a position that can satisfy both sides, and you risk losing people on either side if you don't get exactly the right mix in this. So I don't know that it signals a greater problem in terms of NDP popularity in Quebec. I think they're still doing fairly well in the polls, but it is certainly something that he's got to watch for. One of the signs that they were taking this very seriously is that within the hour of getting the word from Claude Patry that he was jumping to the Bloc, and that word came 3 minutes before he walked into a press conference with Daniel Payet, the NDP had called all of its Quebec MPs to a special caucus meeting. So they're taking it seriously. There was a caucus meeting, and he was in Sherbrooke today, and he's headed up to Saguenay, Lac Saint-Jean tomorrow, which is the region that Claude Patry came from.
Right. Now, the Bloc Quebecois is getting closer and closer to official party status. So what would that mean if they do end up getting more MPs in the next few weeks? What will that mean for the Bloc, and will it change anything?
I don't know that they'll do it just on this one bill, because this was this bill was carefully designed. It's to repeal the Clarity Act. The NDP came back with this idea of, instead of the Bloc's bill, we'll support what we call a unity bill, which will repeal the Clarity Act, but spell out that Parliament has to be satisfied the question is clear if there's a referendum to take Quebec out of Canada, or any province, I guess, for that matter. Also, that if all the conditions were set, there was no irregularities in the vote, and that 50% plus one would be enough for Quebec to leave. Now, that is something that There's wrangling, obviously lost the NDP 1 MP in this. We'll see what happens on Tuesday, if there's a sudden outbreak of flu that hits the NDP ranks from Quebec, or whether some people actually vote against the party, or if everyone falls into line. But this is probably not the end. Paillet has managed to get 1 MP. He's probably going to keep going and try to see just how many NDP MPs he can convince to cross the floor.
Well, we look forward to seeing what happens on Tuesday and in the coming weeks. That's Elizabeth Thompson. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see everyone next week.